All right, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all the latest in television and entertainment news with too many else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and a third one is
Kyle Bridger. We aren't going to do these guys justice, but I would say that I am the Usnavi to John's Benny to Dave's Sonny.
Sonny.
Boom.
Who is it? Which one? Who was Sonny again?
He was the younger kid.
Oh, I was the kid. Yeah, he was a ladies' man.
Yeah, dude.
In the Heights. All right. Okay. Look at them. Look at me. Look at me. I am wearing the yellow. Very sunny. All right. Yeah, we're talking about In the Heights tonight, as well as I guess the color scheme for that would be green, and that's what John has for Loki. We're gonna try to break down what is going on with Loki backwards and forwards and that. But before we get there, we have this first segment. John, what is it, man?
in and out points.
In, order out. In, order out. In, out.
Yes, it is in and out points. All of our in and out points are kind of involve streaming, and I guess all of our shows involve streaming services as well. Our in and out points, though, mostly about Netflix. Netflix, of course. There's a new Netflix series that deals with the sudden appearance of half human and half animal hybrids during a pandemic. This prompts many regular humans to begin hunting and murdering these hybrids out of fear. The series is called Sweet Tooth, and it had a very unique ad to help with its recent launch. On the weekend of June 4th, USA Today had a newspaper that hit newsstands with a full front page editorial about the show, stylized as multiple tabloid-like stories about human-animal hybrids and concerns that they may be a national security risk. Headlines include hybrid babies born across the U.S., and General calls hybrids a threat to national security. Meanwhile, there was just a little advertisement in small print below the USA Today, but for the most part, this looked like a real front page newspaper story. I don't know if you guys saw these images, you heard about Sweet Tooth, but what do you think about this campaign for Sweet Tooth, John? Is it working?
I think that's insane. Like, I don't know. I feel like it should be more clearly labeled that it's an advertisement, not just. How can you do that? It looks too much like a real news story. I don't think that should be allowed.
Yeah, it's scary how close this looks like, and it's the full page. There's multiple stories. There's pictures. I'm gonna pull up an image for Kyle, and I'll send it to him in something.
Yeah, I think I saw something like this rolling around on Twitter, and it does look like it takes up the full page. You're right about that, and it's just like I don't. I agree with John. I don't know how this can be allowed. I mean, didn't they stop things with television in doing this where it looks like too much like an ad? They have to.
Yeah, I think you have to clearly state that it's an ad, and again, this has a small little word that just says advertisement in one spot on this, and again, it takes up the entire page. There's pictures. It's all over this thing.
Mm-hmm. This is the same level to me as those advertisements that have honking horns or police sirens in them on the radio. Like, why? How is that? Yeah. How is that allowed? Those really annoy me, and this is in that same boat for me.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to use the emergency alert system anymore in movies and TV because of, wait, is this real? Is this not real? No matter what, even if it's a zombie movie, it's like, no, this is an emergency alert for a reason. You can't use this. And this is a front page of a national newspaper.
I also want to say I did see these images that you sent me, Dave. And with the crazy headlines and stuff that people have been believing lately, this isn't like far off from anything like wild that we're hearing some like conspiracy theories thrown out. So somebody could like read this and be like, wait, what is going on here? You know?
Yeah. And yeah, many people are calling this irresponsible. I mean, because there's a lot of issues right now with fake news. And well, I mean, the vaccine hesitancy. I mean, there's people out there that believe stories that like their microchips are going to turn people into magnetized MG radio towers. And it's like, well, we don't need stories about these half human, half baby hybrids that could be a national security risk growing hordes. We don't need that right now. We don't. We need people to be safe and trust science. And it's interesting because I do actually have hanging up just out of frame a USA Today fake newspaper front page. And that was for Back to the Future 2. But there's a huge difference between that and this. I mean, one, the USA Today image of that is youth jailed. That's the top story. And it's a clear picture of just Michael J. Fox. So it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's not like some animal hybrid. And yeah, this is a blockbuster movie. This is a adaptation of a very unfamiliar comic series that people aren't familiar with.
That people aren't gonna recognize right away, whereas they're gonna recognize Marty McFly, you know. So yeah, I mean it is wild. Also, when you were just saying the synopsis for this show, I immediately was like, what has Netflix become? It's just such a wild thing. It's just turned into just whatever is being made is just thrown at
Mad Libs. It's Mad
Libs.
Yeah.
It is wild.
Yeah, so I've actually heard good things about the series. I haven't checked it out yet, but very interesting way to get people interested and to check it out.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. I mean, even besides the image, right? Did you hear anything else about this show afterwards? Like I saw this image that you sent, and I didn't see anything else about the show.
All I know, I think Will Forte's in it, and Robert Downey Jr. is a producer. That's all I know about the show.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, that's Sweet Tooth. That's on Netflix. Our next In and Out point involves another Netflix show, and that's Black Mirror. In the White Christmas episode of Black Mirror, a to-be-convicted murderer is trapped in a small cabin and forced to experience time at 1,000 years per minute for days on end. Well, Uproxx reported on a magazine piece where philosopher Dr. Rebecca Roach speaks about how she is overseeing a team examining ways technology could transform punishment, including using biotechnology to trick the mind into thinking they're serving a 1,000-year sentence in an afternoon. This is scary.
This is like this is torture. This is torture.
This is scary. Yeah.
That is true. I mean, so some philosopher is helping out some like a military team?
Overseeing a team. Again, there's nothing
way to use
here
your powers for terrible use.
Because this, I feel like, it's just not humane. I mean, there's so many things which people today are arguing about banning, about like solitary confinement, and this is kind of like a form of that.
For even longer, trapped in a consciousness that you can't even escape.
Yeah. Let's see. I think she said there are a number of psychoactive drugs that distort people's senses of time. So you could imagine developing a pill or some kind of liquid that would make somebody feel like they were serving a 1,000-year sentence.
This has got to be military level grade stuff that they would never. I don't think he would admit that you had ever created something like this. This is insane.
Yeah, this is torture. There's no way around it. This is like, I'm scared. I'm scared of what, like scientists. Can we think of something else to do with our time? Come up with anything else. Well, figure out a way to untangle my headphones that like somehow get into a knot, even they're just in my pocket. Figure that out before you work on this.
Well, wouldn't like hypnosis in a way be a form of like mind
guess,
control,
yeah.
but also a prison of its own sort, because the person can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that is an early version, pre-tech of this. The article had another idea involving uploading minds to computers. Quote, if the speed up were a factor of a million, a millennium of thinking would be accomplished in 8.5 hours. Uploading the mind of a convicted criminal and running it 1,000,000 times faster than normal would enable the uploaded criminal to serve a 1,000-year sentence in 8.5 hours. This would obviously be much cheaper for the taxpayer than extending criminals' lifespans to enable them to serve 1,000 years in real time. So yeah, it is a cheaper option for the taxpayer. Instead of extending criminals' lives, why don't we just shorten it? Like, what is this?
Wait,
my brain uploaded for other reasons? Like, I feel like that would be beneficial to somebody.
Well, it started off beneficial where it's like, oh, I mean, a millennium of thinking could be accomplished in 8.5 hours. Like, think of the amount of work and studying you could do in that time. Like, instead of doing 4 years of medical school, it's like, oh, you could do that in the afternoon. You could study all the books, it's 1,000 years of research.
That sounds like the Matrix thing when he's like, what did you just learn? He's like, Taekwondo or something. He's like,
just put a USB in your ear and you got everything on the internet and uploaded, figured out.
But here's the thing now, okay? So are prison sentences in the future going to be like your sentence to like 300 years in prison, and it's like 300 digital years or 300 live years?
Analog years.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a combo of both, or
maybe you get either
or a choice. You get a choice.
maybe it's like 30 real life years or 3,000 digital years or something like that.
But 3,000 digital years, I mean, I don't know I can't even comprehend what that would be mentally. But when you come back, you're still you're 8 hours older?
Yeah.
Your body is, but your brain is
your brain is done.
Older.
Yeah, I don't know how
probably
it
be
would
a shell of your former self.
That's definitely for sure.
Oh my God.
Wow.
You'd probably be legally insane once you came back.
Yeah, I think anyone going through this process would definitely be. The people doing this study is legally insane, but all right. Yeah, Dark in the chat. I think I saw this movie. It was called Escape from New York. Is that the Planet of the Apes movie? Maybe. All right, one last in and out point. It kind of involves different data points, a Netflix story, of course. But earlier today, the Hollywood Reporter reported on a research study that the number of streaming services utilized per U.S. user has fallen from 7.23 to 7.06. So it's like, well, that's not like a huge drop. And it's also, it's decimal points of a streaming service. But the bigger deal is, this is the first time the average number has fallen. Normally it's either, risen, stayed the same. This is the first time that the number of services utilized by the U.S. user has fallen. Have we hit the peak? Is this it? Is 7 the magic number? That's the ceiling, John?
Maybe. I mean, do we know that this data is because there are too many, or is this because Friends and The Office left Netflix? Like, do we know what's driving this change?
I don't think we do yet. The only thing I could think of a little bit is that I'm sure they all went up exponentially. 2020, people were stuck inside. Now things are opening up. People want to get out, or they also just can't afford these services anymore. And it's like, well, yeah, I've exhausted the libraries. I'm ready to go outside for the summer. I'm dropping some of these services. That's the only thing I could think of. Kyle, what do you think about this drop?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have reached a peak. I don't see more people getting more streaming services. I think they're going to align themselves with what they know, and then what the content that they like about the streaming service. But yeah, I mean, everything's also going up. every streaming service feels like it's going up in price. I mean, we're getting back to cable. I mentioned it over and over again on this podcast, but it's just becoming cable over the internet. That's what it is now.
Yeah.
The hiding, hiding fees and all that, it's gone.
Yeah, prices are definitely going up, and free trials are ending. I looked at my my phone to see what apps I'm subscribed to, and one or two of them, the free trial's coming up, and I'm like, oh, am I gonna, extend this? I don't know. Apple TV Plus, I got 16 months or whatever, a year and a half free of Apple TV Plus. Do I keep going? I get, let's see, on the rest of your Disney Plus, HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix, Paramount, and Prime Video. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Like, sure, I have Peacock, but I don't really count that because it's free. But I have 7 services, and I might be dropping one. So yeah, I think 7 might be the number.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
and that's a lot. But I mean, and that's for somebody that watches TV like a lot.
Yeah,
like you watch a lot of TV, wouldn't you say?
I mean, between my job and between this job,
I know
podcasts about TV.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think you're not average. So I would say that people have less. I mean,
probably. Well, Wall Street isn't worried about Netflix currently. The streaming giant is branching out. It's diversifying their portfolio because this week, in addition to launching a comedy festival next year, they're launching an online store that's going to include all this stuff from all their different properties, including a Bridgerton clothing line. I don't think even like shows that say Bridgerton. It's going to be like a clothing line inspired by Bridgerton. What do you think about this? The Netflix store. Who's buying stuff from the Netflix store?
I mean, sometimes it's cool to have little doodads from shows. I mean, I know a couple of things that you have that are from movies or shows. Yeah. So I can see the market for it. I just don't know if there's that much of a market for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like it's weird because I feel like a lot of streaming services like Peacock, HBO Max were late to the game after Netflix was dominating. I feel like Netflix is late to the game on this. Obviously, Disney has capitalized merchandise with a capital M, but like all the Stranger Things product stuff, I'm sure they're getting a cut of that. But it's like Target is, constantly with the T-shirts and the board games and this and that. It's like, man, you guys, I need to do this day one. With all your properties, you could have been really raking in the money. But they're going all in on the store.
Now, is it just Netflix originals, or do they have some of their other streamings? Like,
I don't know yet, but I would probably assume
it's
because
just
I think it's just originals. I'd be shocked if whatever. Yeah,
I wonder if they're gonna be selling Kevin Spacey bobbleheads with the House of Cards.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be flying off the shelves. I don't think.
Yeah, no.
Let's see. Bloomberg says this could be a part of how Netflix has realized how a podcast or like a Halloween costume can keep its programming relevance in between new seasons. Quote, its business model encourages people to obsess over a show for a week or two and then move on to the next one. The most valuable franchises are built around properties that air on TV every day or a multi-part movie series. That's a great point. I think like we've talked about this with Netflix, how all their stuff comes out that week, a big hit. Everyone's talking about it. And then a week later, no one's talking about it again.
Yep.
And then it's like, what, maybe a year, 2 years, maybe like for Stranger Things for it to come back. Yep. And that's a long time to kind of hold on to that momentum. Meanwhile, like every day or every week, there's a new Marvel something, a TV show, a movie, a comic book, something's out there. But yeah.
They also try and get Netflix tries to get the bump with the trailers. Because and then everyone's like, oh, I can't wait for it to come back or whatever. And then that'll go away. And then,
now some casting or something.
Yeah, some other news. So they try and get it that way to get you to watch. But yeah, they need to invest more long term and in a way to get people to watch all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just that one weekend, that one pop, and then that's it. And there's another report. This is our final report that Axios has data from Parrot Analytics that consumers are gravitating towards shows that are released weekly as opposed to binge watching shows that come out at once. So they're pretty much saying, yeah, people are going more towards the weekly shows now instead of these binge drops. Like it was popular for all these years. I mean, if you think about where are some of the most popular shows recently, Mayor of Easttown, that came out weekly. All these Marvel shows, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki. Every week we're going to see a big bump every single week.
Yeah.
But what's the last Netflix show? Bridgerton, I guess. I can't think of one.
Yeah.
Since December.
Yeah.
6 months. It's like, that's not good.
Yeah. But. Yeah, it's not good at all. Yeah, you're totally right. I think also the weekly thing gives people time to talk about it on Twitter. Like I'll see stuff on Twitter all the time of people talking about what happened that episode. Also, I feel like with a full library, it's more daunting to see like, oh man, I got to chug through all this. Whereas even if I like with some other shows, I'll watch a couple, then I'll forget about it. And then I'll come back and I'll be like, oh, I missed a few episodes. So now I have a couple to watch there. But it's not like this 10, 12 block of episodes each time where it's like, geez.
It's a lot. And Dark is in the chat saying, well, now wait, is that just because there are more weekly shows out there? And I'll say I disagree. Sure, there are plenty of weekly shows out there. But I think if you look at Amazon dropping the full Underground Railroad series recently, or Invincible, or Netflix with every single show. I'm sure they released a new show today. I'm positive. And I'm sure they have 2 or 3 coming on Friday.
Was Girls 5 Eva? And
I think that was Peacock. They dropped all at once, I believe.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, sure, we're hearing more about the weekly shows, but I think that proves the argument of, because they're getting the weekly news cycle of a new episode and a new bump, a new review. But there's plenty of shows, especially in that Netflix database, that come and then go, and then you never see them again.
I mean, if they wanted to like strategize about it, you could have, if you have what you think is like a Game of Thrones type series, elongate that, and then so you're not chowing down on that viewership, you could have them binge something else, where they drop the whole catalog and just mix and match based on what you want people to gravitate to.
And they've experimented a little bit with these kind of hybrid release strategies now, Netflix, where I remember like with The Circle, they did like 3 or 4 episodes a week for a month leading up to the finale. So people wouldn't be spoiled with a reality show type thing. And I know they do like the Great British Bake Off when they get those episodes, they do it weekly as well. And so they do it a lot with the reality shows. Just for instance, I just looked up what we got on Netflix. Yesterday, they dropped Elite Short Stories, a new series. Today, they dropped Working Moms Season 5. Tomorrow, they have 2 movies, including a documentary. And then this weekend, Black Summer Season 2, Katla, new series, and Record of Ragnarok, new anime. So they're releasing stuff. But yeah. I don't know. I think it's in the end. I think it would be a win for streamers because having them come weekly. It's like, well, you're keeping your subscribers longer instead of getting a free trial for a weekend or just getting 1 month. It's like, well, now to get Loki, the 8 episodes, well, that's 2 months right there, and then maybe they start something else at the end of that, and then you're staying for the next one. And it was like a WandaVision, Falcon, Loki, like 1-2 punch. It was just boom, boom, boom.
But personally, do you like the weekly or the all at once?
I think I'm old school, and I like the weekly. I think for me, I hate, especially the early days of whatever Stranger Things or Orange New Black. They would drop 13 episodes, and it's like, well, great. They dropped it at Friday at 3 a.m. I can't watch any of these until Friday at 8 p.m. And by noon, I was already spoiled about the series finale or season finale. It's like, well. how was I supposed to watch these? I don't have time for 13 hours in a Friday morning to watch these. So I like the idea. It's like, well, if I don't watch it Sunday night at 9 p.m. and I get spoiled Monday morning, that's on me. You know, I could have watched it, but I didn't. But yeah, so that's personally, I think that's where I am at. But yeah, you know, I could save a show or two, and if I don't care that much, and binge it. But I like the weekly. Something to look forward to, thinking about it each week. But yeah, what about you? I feel like you like the binge.
I do like the binge, especially if I really, really like a show.
Yeah.
I like the binge, but I don't mind weekly because I like seeing like things on Twitter and what people are talking about with the show. I like that too. But yeah, I actually like the what thing that I was talking about where I forget about it and then I'm like, oh, there's a couple. It's almost like a little treat to myself.
A little treat. A
little treat to myself. Yeah.
Well, I mentioned Loki. We should probably talk about the series premiere at this point. In order to talk about it, we have to go back, and Loki likes to go back. So guys, send us back.
Back in time.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
Did it come in early? It came in early.
Do we have a remote, John, that we can rewind, fast forward real quick like they do in Loki, the series premiere, Glorious Purpose? It dropped on Disney Plus on June 9th, 6/9. Nice. After stealing the Tesseract during the events of Avengers Endgame, an alternate version of Loki is brought to the mysterious Time Variance Authority, an organization that exists outside of time and space and monitors timelines. They give Loki a choice: face being erased from existence to being a time variant, or help fix the timeline and stop a greater threat. All right, Kyle, we both saw Loki. What do you think about the premiere?
I thought it was interesting. I actually found Loki kind of endearing, not really too annoying. There was something charming about his whole shtick. Because I don't really know anything about Loki. I'm just gonna go on record and say that because I know there are some like super fans out there. So I will say, no idea what was going on in the episode. I know about the Tesseract and I know about like that opening sequence they had there. I'd seen that before, but once we get past that, it's just like I'm a blank slate. I don't know anything. So just take everything I say at that. But overall, I found it charming in the beginning. Owen Wilson is fine. But overall I found the story interesting and I would be interested in moving along.
Yeah, I hear you. I think of the three, I think I would watch more of this one. Of the three. It's no surprise, we always mention it. We're not superhero experts or mega fans here. So we're coming in as casuals. We will spoil at least what we know. We'll try to figure out what happened in this because it is kind of confusing, but there's your warning on that. I agree with you that Tom Hiddleston is having a lot of fun. He's the sly, charming Loki. I think that works. I think him and Owen Wilson will make a very good pairing in this show. The two of them and their comedic sensibilities will work out pretty well. And I like the world that they set up here. The TVA, the Time Variance Authorities, not only with the production design, but just like the style, and it feels very like lived in, because it's like they have the system, he comes in and you have to like sign the papers of every word you've ever said. And of course he questions this, and it's like, another printout comes out, and it's like, adds that to the stack, and you have to sign that one as well because you just said that. And so there's there's a lot of thought and time coming up with their protocols and stuff, and it has very unique fights and technology. They can rewind time to move people around, kind of like almost as a Black Mirror punishment. You can make them feel pain at a slower rate. But yeah, he's running away. Now he's back. Oh, he's running away. He's back. And it's just like, so I thought all that was a lot of fun. I thought there was a lot of fun elements to it. but yeah, there's the time travel. And I do love time travel. No surprise there. But I'm a little hesitant. I'm always hesitant with time travel because it's very hard to pull off. And I'm a little worried with this one, just especially as a non-comic book fan. I'm going to try to break it down a little bit here. But Kyle, I don't know if you know, but this Loki isn't the Loki from Endgame, despite the cold open we saw in the premiere of this episode. This is an alternate time variant version of Loki who created a new timeline in Endgame. So this one hasn't gone through the events of like Thor 2 and 3 and which, you know, he became reformed, he became maybe a better person. He tragically, spoiler alert, died in Infinity War. That didn't happen to this Loki. This Loki is from the original Avengers in 2012 because in Endgame they went back in time. So, well, it gets a little more complicated because not only we got all that, the person he's teaming up to hunt for is himself. So I don't know how that's going to work. I figured out the first part, but now it's like we have some kind of like, it's going to be some kind of Tenet loop where, well, the person he's hunting is himself. So when is that person, where did that person come from? Is that the future him? It can't be the past him.
Oh my God.
So that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about.
That's too much. It's too much.
And again, like how much homework do I got to do to watch this show? Because I'm already lost, and do I have to watch all 20 plus movies on a rewatch, plus read the comic book series and read an article at the same time before I can watch a weekly episode?
Yeah, or am I just supposed to get the fringe outside like notes and then just enjoy the rest for what it is?
Yeah.
Just like, you know,
there's people listening, right? Just shut up and watch the show. It's like, okay, I can, but I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to get everything connected. I want to know it all, but see, Dark in the chat, I'm not watching it. I'm superheroed out. Marvel has ruined me with oversaturation.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely a thing. I mean, and there's going to be more coming down the pipe with movies and TV and all that.
He also mentioned, which was my next point here, and Zach Milan mentioned it as well on our Instagram page. He said for his review, a very strong start for Loki and will be the biggest link to weave into the films. Excited for more, because in this whole thing, he's trying to fix the timelines and get them all back on track.
Yep.
Because it could diverge and be a multiverse. And well, I don't know if we have to watch the full series to know, but the next Doctor Strange movie, the sequel, is called The Multiverse of Madness. So maybe it doesn't work out for Loki in the series. We're going to get this multiverse in that film. And then there's, of course, the rumors about Spider-Man No Way Home that it's going to feature the 3 Spider-Men of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland.
Yeah, but you've also called this earlier. I think you called it earlier on the podcast.
I'm not sure if I called that. I mean, there's been rumors for No Way Home for a while about multiverse, but I think I mentioned maybe when we talked about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the animated film. Yeah. I'm like, this was such a big hit. This opens the Pandora's box. Like, you got to go with this. So I think I might have mentioned there. It's like, if Marvel isn't going that way, they should.
Yeah.
Films, because I feel like you can. If these movies are fan service, well, I mean, what's bigger fan service than bringing 3 Spider-Mans together to recreate the meme of all them pointing at each other?
Yeah.
So there's that, and then some of my other cons is I feel like these type of shows, especially with time travel and Marvel, I feel like we let things like slide by when things are convenient. Like, there's this whole thing of like, well, the Avengers time traveled and played around with timelines. They're like, well, that was supposed to happen. That was okay. Your escape was not. And like, even Loki's like, well, why can they go back in time and get Infinity Stones and mess around with time? But I can't, like, like, you're kind of picking and choosing. And yeah, this whole episode, because like I was a little annoyed with Loki at points because he's like this superhero with lack for a better word, magic. And he's not believing in the TVA. He's like, well, what do you mean? That's not me. Wait, that hasn't happened. What's time travel? It's like, dude, you're a superhero.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
He's the audience avatar. He's us trying to figure this out. But it's like, well, dude, like it's like Harry Potter, after graduating Hogwarts is like, wait, magic? Dragons? I don't think so. But
yeah, dude. Yeah. I always agree with everything you say when it comes to super, because when I'm watching it, I'm just in it. I'm like along for the ride. But then you bring up stuff like this, and I'm like, dude, you're so right.
Well,
and
I was still like having like some fun with it. Again, as I said, of the 3 Marvel shows we've seen so far, this is the one I connected the most with, if that makes sense. And but yeah, there was some nitpicks, of course, and because that's just the pessimist that I am. But like, I will say also, like, as much as I love how they set up the TVA as like this force, this strong force, they can control time. Somehow immediately foiled by Loki with their own technology, like immediately. Like these guys, and like there's a point when they're going to stop this guy in the cornfield with fire, and like the fire starts coming at him. It's coming at him. Oh, they're engulfed in flames. It's like, dude, you guys have a time remote. Like, just rewind the time.
Yeah.
You see the fire coming, just rewind it. Like, I don't know. But and then my last kind of nitpick is I feel like also we get too cute with stuff. There's no magic allowed in this like TVA world. Like all the Infinity Stones don't mean anything in this world, and that was such a huge crux of the last 2 mega films that like, well, they're just paperweights in this universe. They're meaningless. It's like, what? Like they're always need to like one up each other. It's like, oh, you thought Thanos was bad? Wait till you see this guy. And it's
that's my thing with superhero stuff in general. It's like, it's like, how can each villain be way worse than the previous one when that was the worst? And now this is the
because especially there was like talk, especially after the trailer for the Eternals came out, the new film coming out like this November of a new kind of Avengers type group. And it's like these guys are even stronger than the Avengers, and they're like, well, we haven't had to intervene at any point with Earth. They've had it under control, but now we gotta intervene. It's like, wait, you didn't want to help with Thanos when they he literally snapped his fingers and 50% of the world disappeared. That's pretty big to me. And it's like all these things where it's like, oh, Iron Man lives in New York City, but in Spider-Man, whatever, in Queens, he's dealing with his own villain, but Iron Man can't, take 10 minutes out of his day to help Spider-Man out. Like, it's just like, he's like choosy when they want to work.
Yeah, he's like a taxi cab in NYC. They're not going to the outer boroughs, man. They're staying right where they are.
Dark. Well, it's a different universe. So the Infinity Stones only have power in the universes they were created in. Okay, well.
Wow. See, that we need this.
We need this. Comics to find that out.
Tell me the comic numbers and I'll study up for next week.
Well, yeah, if somebody could just give me like a Cliff Notes, I'm down. Just give me something I can digest, because the talk of the timelines and that's too much.
Yeah, I'm gonna need the board from Homeland of all the different strings and stuff like that behind me. But with all that being said, I was a little negative towards the end here. I will say, go back to what I was saying before I said all that. There's a lot to like here, just with between the cast and the production design and the world that they created. So I think of the 3, this is the one I might at least give another episode to. I might keep going at least a little bit. Worried about how they're going to end it, if it's all going to connect at the end, because time travel is really hard. But I think of the 3, I'm going to give this one a shot. What about you?
Yeah, I would say that I'll at least watch another episode or 2, and then go from there. Because still, even with the superhero stuff, even when I'm interested, it's not like this overwhelming urge, like I gotta watch it. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna, I might tune into that,
Yeah, of course. And then again, as we mentioned earlier, they're gonna get a weekly avalanche of articles. Oh my God, did you believe that this third string villain from this movie from 2010 made a huge cameo appearance. It's like, oh my, it's like whatever it is. But
yeah.
All right. One last thing to talk about tonight, and it's a movie, In the Heights. It dropped on June 10th in theaters and on HBO Max. This musical film, based on the Tony-winning musical of the same name, tells the story of a corner in the Washington Heights neighborhood where each member of the community pursues their dream of a better life. This is going to be an interesting little discussion here because I believe John saw it on HBO Max, but Kyle and I actually had a movie theater experience for this. Do you want to kind of give a little summary of our return to the movies last night, Kyle? Like, how was it? Just the experience of going back to a movie.
Well, it was cool to be back in a theater for once. So we kind of did the reservation for a movie theater, and it's actually a lot, cheaper than I thought it would be if you can get a good group. It turns out to be pretty similar to what a ticket would be in NYC. But then it wasn't busy at all.
Yeah.
There was like no one there.
I was kind of shocked when we walked in Midtown Manhattan Theater about 8:00 on a Monday, but you go, the lobby empty. There's not one person there. And then we went right in. We went to the concessions, no line. I saw a couple people straggling in there, but I think the theater has like 14, 15 screens, and we had our own, one to ourselves, recliners, big screen.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was
a
nice.
lot of cool. And even the concessions, like they have everything behind a rope, so like they handle all the drinks and stuff. I don't know how long that's.
Yeah.
Could you imagine once it gets busier, people are gonna be like lining up,
Yeah. Especially that one guy doing the sodas at the soda station or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're not allowed to do your own sodas. But all right. So that was our movie theater experience. We still got to talk about the film, but I want to start off with John. What did you think of In the Heights, which you saw on HBO Max?
I thought it was all right. I before I get into that, my non-theater experience, it was very quiet. I turned my volume up really loud in order to have what I thought was a normal experience. So I don't know if that was the same for you guys in the theater. I guess not. Otherwise, you probably would have said something. But I had to turn it up. I definitely had to turn it up. So that's my one note for the non-theater experience. I don't know if anybody else had that.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I wouldn't have minded it being a little louder, at least in the beginning. Yeah. I would have cranked it up a little bit, especially because there's so much like fast speaking, singing, that it was just like to catch all the lines. It's like, I need to hear it a little better. I need to see maybe closed captioning something, but I could see that. Yeah,
I just remember at one point thinking about the sound when I was in the theater. It was like there was like cars honking and all this stuff, and I was like, I feel like I should be hearing that more, and I'm not really.
I think it was like in the beginning. I feel like by like a little bit I adjusted, but
that also would have been in surround for you guys. So that's a little bit of a different experience than stereo. So I don't know if maybe that should make things a little bit clearer for you, but I don't know. It's just interesting that I had that that it was on HBO Max, but it was on the PC version dark. It was not on the app. So I don't know. Maybe HBO just does their stuff a little bit quieter. But beyond that, I thought it was pretty good. I think there's definitely, and I think we'll talk about this in a bit, a little bit more than it needed, just time-wise. There were a couple of small details that I kind of got hung up on. The biggest one, I think, for me was that obviously this was originally a stage show, and I could see this working out in a stage show, but not on the screen, where, spoiler, the whole premise of the show is he's telling the story to these kids, and they're at the beach, and you're made to think they're at the beach in Puerto Rico. And then at the end, they're just like, nope, we're in the store, and it turns from a beach to a painting. It's a well-done painting, but a painting. And it was just like, I could see that working well on a stage because the stage things are painted anyway. But that kind of, I thought, was a little bit lame of an ending. But I got one or two other small nitpicks that we'll talk about as well. But yeah, overall, I thought it was good. I thought the music was done really well. And yeah, I don't think I regret watching. I think I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I kind of had like some issues with that like kind of reveal twist kind of thing with the change from the beach to the bodega. Especially because the whole time I'm like, well, wait a minute, he must have gone, because if he didn't have gone, he's not at the beach. And wait, how did he have these kids? And that's like, oh, he was there the whole time. Okay, you got me.
And again, a stage show makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
but for movie adaptation,
But what it did work well with the movie adaptation is the spectacle. It's big, giant musical numbers, hundreds of people in the streets, and another one in the pool that was crazy in colors. The colors pop. And one of the things I really liked with the movie, and I'm sure they do it in the stage play too, but like the kind of the percussive movement of the actors, they were, especially Anthony Ramos's character in the bodega, just like when he's taking the pricing gun and hitting the things right on the beat of the music, and it was moving around. I'm like, it sounds like almost like Stomp. It was like it worked well, I thought, with the choreography and the music. I think it all kind of translated really well. And yeah, like just the choreographed numbers. You had some that were like this Inception style building duet. They were, going on the walking on the walls, going upside down. But then there was others that had more like natural background movements. And there was some that's like, oh, I don't know if this person is a classically trained dancer, but it makes it feel real. It makes it feel like a real world, that you're just going down the street and some random guy or this random couple that is just dancing around to the beat. And it made it feel more real than like this sometimes, perfect production. I got some more things, but Kyle, what did you think of the film?
I really liked it. I thought it was really good, all for the things that you just mentioned. I mean, the singing and dancing alone are enough to watch it, and the music too. The music is really, 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 really good. So for those reasons alone, I think you have to watch it. I think my problem comes with the thing that John's talking about, is more story-wise. For me, it wasn't so much the reveal to the thing. It was like his wife, spoiler alert, his wife at the end. It's like her inspiration was found out from like the rags on the ground, and it's like, okay, so she discovered tie-dye. Like it just, so it's not so much the production, all that stuff is great. It's more like the story is kind of a letdown at the end. And in fact, I would say the more interesting part with the grandmother and her dying or happens earlier in the movie. So.
And I'm gonna jump in here and skip ahead in Dave's notes a bit to the grandmother dying and the lottery ticket that she's sitting on. Yeah. Why would you sit on it? They're
it's about family, just being who they are.
They're planning to move to Puerto Rico to rejuvenate his dad's bar, which is totaled. Yeah. He could have used every cent of that.
Well, everyone needs money. The Jimmy Smith's daughter to go to Stanford.
Yeah. Yes, everyone needs it, but then she's not. Do something with it. Don't just sit on it. What if he had thrown it? What if he had thrown it away? What if the house burnt down? Just.
Well, I had a nitpick, which I don't know. I don't know the rules for lottery tickets, but I'm wondering if it was even still good. Like, I know there's rules for different games, but it's like, it was at least a month, because they showed it was like a month after the blackout. So it was at least, 30, 40 days. And I feel like at some point they kind of like, that's it for the ticket. Now the jackpot is now increased.
Yeah.
Dark in the chat saying 90 days. So I think they might have made it in the 90 days, but I know like those, like Mega Millions jackpots, which this wasn't, but like, it's like the next day, nobody claimed it. Okay. Now the jackpot is doubled and it's.
Yeah. You're right.
But yeah.
Dude, Dark knows so much. We need him on all the time. He needs
he's always in the chat.
He needs to be like a permanent fact checker for us.
Yeah. Well, Dark, the job is yours if you want it. But yeah, I one of the things I'll mention in the cons is I feel like the pacing. I felt the film is a solid 2.5 hours, and at points I felt like, okay, now what? Like, oh, another slow ballad, and I feel like there's points where it was hard to go from this upbeat dance party to like a slow intimate scene, and it was just like, wait, now what are we doing? And there's a lot of characters you have this, we got one love interest storyline, you have another love interest storyline. There's everyone on the block has their own different story, and there's a lot to cover, a lot of songs. Everyone needs a song. The grandmother, Lin-Manuel Miranda, everyone needs one.
Yeah.
It just felt like, it was getting long.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, the Inception level one, that dance, some people were like freaking out about it, and I was just kind of taken aback because I was like getting a little bit tired at that point. We were watching it later at night, and it was
like 2 hours into the movie, probably.
Yeah, and it was like, wait, this doesn't feel like a progression towards the final product here. It's like another slow thing.
I feel like that should have been earlier, especially like how impressive that was to really like just the cinematography in that scene. It had been moved up. There was a lot of cool stuff they did in a lot of the sequences, whether it was like the pool giant number going into the water. There was points where they were in the salon shop, which I like. The wigs were bobbing and moving as well, and so they built on all the stuff that you probably couldn't do on stage. Even there's a point with the character Benny. I think he's like moving his hands around, and like it becomes like CGI different stuff. I think it was like the four of them walk into the pool.
Cool.
So it's like, like, a golf club appears, and it's just like, well, you can't do that on stage. So there was a lot of extra cool stuff that they added to these musical numbers to really make them stand out.
That was good. Yeah.
Let's see. I got one more complaint. This might be a hot take, but I feel like we got a little bit too much Lin in this. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That's not a hot take at all. I mean, this movie did not need him at all.
No. I get it. He's the creator. It's nice to have him, but like,
he wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good Hamilton Easter egg to put.
But there was
his name Christopher Jackson in the
the Mr. Softy George Washington there.
Yeah, but it's like, Lin-Manuel Miranda, you did not need to be in this.
Yeah, because you mentioned Easter egg, and for me, it's like, how many we had a baker's dozen of these Easter eggs of all of him, because it was just like, okay, like, there was so much of this character. I mean, he had his own song. He would just appear in different songs. He was one of the most important people to Anthony Ramos's character when he's seeing everyone on the beach before it becomes like he's always there. And I just feel like for all the other characters, we got a 3-dimensional version of, we know their motivation. I don't know one thing about this guy. Like, it's just, it was, so I'm like, for the amount of time we spent on him, every 15 minutes he pops up. It was just like, well, what's the next thing with this guy? Like, what's the next extra thing? And I just feel like, all right, we could have just done 1 or 2 of these cameos, and that was fun. He's in it. Next. But yeah, I
don't think it's a hot take at all. I agree with everything you said.
All right. Any other In the Heights talk? I have this one kind of in and out point to talk about that involves In the Heights. If anyone has any other pros, cons of the film.
I just think, just outright, I think you got to watch it, because it's well worth it, and it's enjoyable, and you'll have the song stuck in your head, and it's very, very cool, the things that they do. So I just need to point that out.
Yep. Yeah. I'll co-sign that. Well, we got to talk about the box office here. There's a lot of articles that have come out in the last 48 hours about the lackluster, below expectations of the box office for this film. It got 11.4 million the opening weekend. It was actually number 2 at the box office after A Quiet Place 2 in its 3rd week. Quiet Place 2 is over $109 million at this point. What happened? There's lots of reasons. I want to kind of go through some of them, maybe try to figure it out. I don't think it's the reviews. 96% Rotten Tomatoes from critics, 95% audience. The promotional blitz was there. This thing was everywhere on TV. A lot of people are asking, is HBO Max to blame? Because it had the premiere on the day and date. It was on HBO Max. It was in theaters at the same time. I have some thoughts. I have some backup research here, but any initial thoughts? Is HBO Max to blame on this?
I mean, we'd have to figure out from the ratings. I mean, if there's some kind of ratings way or downloads or streams that HBO Max can or HBO can supply us with, they can then say, oh, yeah, not only did we have this much money that we brought in at the box office, but we also have this amount of streams, and that was the best for this week. Then that lends more credibility. But if their streams were crappy and the box office was crappy, then we're talking, is it marketing or whatever? Or maybe it's going to have to be word of mouth. Maybe people are going to have to be like, go and see this or get HBO Max to watch it.
Yeah. Variety doesn't think it's HBO Max, because if we look at some of the past films that did this day and date this year, when even less cinemas were opened, Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat, and last week's Conjuring sequel, they all had solid box office, despite also being on HBO Max. And the president of domestic distribution for HBO Max said, quote, our experience, which is based up or is backed up on In the Heights, is that the movie hits a large level in theaters, it hits a large level on the service. If it hits a low level in theaters, it hits a low level on HBO Max. They're really very comparable. So he's saying, which other third-party streaming viewership companies say as well, that it was actually down on HBO Max for the film. So it was low on HBO Max, it was low in theaters. So you can't blame HBO Max for stealing people from the theaters, because it was low there as well.
I mean, it's also a musical. It's also a musical. I mean, I wasn't like a huge musical fan back in the day, but I've learned to appreciate them more. But I'm sure there are people that don't like musicals. This is very like concentrated in one, area, like a certain part of New York City. So I mean, if you don't know what the Heights are, you might be like, oh, okay, whatever,
Yeah, and it's actually funny you bring that up, because one of the stats is in New York City, it over-indexed on HBO Max by 72% compared to the US overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, more people, and so it might be just something it played better on the coast. Sometimes that happens. It just is better in cities like New York and LA than nationwide. Because it did premiere, I'm looking on a Box Office Mojo, in 3,456 theaters. So it was a wide release. There was plenty of theaters that could show it again. There's lower capacity, but other films have had better box office returns that came out earlier in the pandemic. The only thing I could also maybe think it could be is maybe something with name recognition. I mean, sure, In the Heights, it won Tonys in 2008, but this isn't Hamilton. This isn't, some film with two A-list, Oscar-winning actors. It's all these people will become big talents, but I just don't think they're there yet in their career. And yeah, it's just like, well, that could be something there too. It's just the name recognition, and as you mentioned, the stuff with musicals. It's like, is the summer the right time for this? Like, alongside Quiet Place 2 and Fast 9, is this the right time period? Because to look at comparable films, La La Land, Greatest Showman, Bohemian Rhapsody, which made everywhere from 400 to 900 million, somewhere in that range, they all came out in fall and winter. West Side Story is coming out this winter. Greatest Showman, it started off low, it built week after week, but again, it was a holiday film. It wasn't in this crowded summer box office.
The only thing I can think of is that they wanted to, because it's a summer movie.
It's a movie that takes
the whole thing.
Yeah,
so I bet they wanted that feel, and maybe the start of the summer, and then it carries through to that whole summer to try. So maybe it might be a word of mouth thing to get more people to watch this, because it is good, and I don't think I've seen anybody that went to see it or saw it that didn't love it. So
95% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, 96 critics. I mean, it's universally loved. And I have a review from Zach Milan as well on Instagram. He sent us one. A truly beautiful film with a vibrancy you could feel, amazing performances, love, Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She really got to show off her range. And then Ramos really got to shine. The actress who plays Nina, I was surprised to read that this was her first film role. And it wouldn't be surprised of an awards buzz and wins for the film. The film deserves it. And glad LMM decided not to star in it. So there we go. We're kind of aligned with that. But
and I do think Anthony Ramos was so good.
Yeah, he was really good in this.
Yep.
The whole cast. I loved all of them. Like Jimmy Smits. I loved him in that role.
Yeah. It was interesting to see him in that role, but it was cool.
Yeah, so I think that's In the Heights. That's all we got for this week. Next week, though, we have 2 new shows. Well, 1 new show, 1 returning show. We have the series premiere of Physical, Rose Byrne, Apple TV Plus. We'll talk about Physical. And then Dave is back. Season 2, Little Dicky. Here we go. The season 2 premiere of Dave. And maybe we'll do some quick checks. There's some other stuff coming out, including Luca. Maybe I'll check that out. So a lot of things coming up. Make sure you never miss an episode. Go to YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com. And of course, live on Twitch, twitch.tv/doredundancy, 8 p.m. Eastern, usually on Tuesday nights. And make sure you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you can send in comments and getting them, read on the show at Dual Redundancy. I want to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight, for watching In the Heights, especially, Kyle coming out, and couldn't do it without you guys. John directing the show. Thanks, guys.
Sure.
Yeah, man.
All right. Until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.